Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am bringing you yet another amazing dinner bowl while I'm getting a facial from the steam from my hot water. It's going to be a poke noodle bowl with fresh sashimi, ahi, tuna. So what we're going to do to start is I'm using about a cup of Japanese udon noodles. And what you want to do is bring probably 2 or 3 cups of water to a boil. And then we're going to go ahead and add the noodles. I don't break mine because I like to wrap them with a fork. If you like yours in smaller pieces, you can break them before you cook them and your work is already done for you. But as you can see, it doesn't take long and they start to soften and go right into the pot. So those need to boil uncovered for about 10 minutes, and then we will drain them and put them in the fridge and bring them back out shortly. So the next thing we will do is go ahead and get a sauce ready for the tuna to marinate in. So I've just got a small bowl here, and you'll need some sesame oil. Either I've got apple cider vinegar today, just because I don't have any rice vinegar. This is a great substitute. It just requires a little bit less than if you were to use rice vinegar. You can use white wine or rice wine vinegar, but it's definitely going to still be on the tangier side. So this is definitely the closest in flavor to it. And then I also use Bragg's liquid aminos. I use this as a substitute for tamari, which is basically soy sauce. So this has way less sodium and is much healthier for you. So let's get started. I also have a jalapeno I picked from our garden, an avocado, a cucumber I just cut from the garden, and I don't have any limes right now, unfortunately, so I've got lime juice right here. So what we're going to do is take 3 teaspoons of sesame oil, which I need to get my teaspoons out. Okay, so the next step for our poke noodle bowl will be to go ahead and start the marinade. So we're going to need 1 teaspoon. You can use a little more if you're serving more than 3 or 4 people into your bowl. And then we're going to do 1½ teaspoons, but remember that's if you're using rice vinegar. I'm using this apple cider vinegar, so we're just going to do like maybe 3/4 of a teaspoon. Okay, and then we're going to do the recipe calls for 1/3 cup tamari. This, even though this is extremely minimal in sodium compared to the tamari, I'm still going to use even less than 1/3 cup because it does have a very salty flavor. And I don't like my food to be extremely salty, even if it's not for health purposes. I just don't like super salty. So I'm probably only going to use maybe even half of this 1/3 cup. I'm just going to kind of see how it goes. Yeah, I think that's about it. All right, I'm going to pour that in there. And we'll let that sit for a minute. This seems like it's getting pretty hot now. So I'm going to go ahead and put our sesame seeds in. All right, and the noodles are ready to come out. Sit for a minute, and I'm going to let these toast, and I'll be back in just a minute and we'll go on to the next step. Alrighty, so for our next step, I went ahead and put the udon noodles that I was straining in the refrigerator, just covered with a paper towel, because they need to go ahead and chill while we do our next couple steps. So while that was chilling, I went ahead and took about an eighth to a quarter cup of sliced green onions. You can also use scallions. It's really the same, one and the same. The green onion is the top of the shoot, which has the least amount of pungent flavor, whereas the white is going to have the most flavor, most like an onion. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to the mixture that we made previously. And then our sesame seeds are done being toasted. So we're just going to go ahead and add those right in there. They look nice and golden toasted. And then we're going to go ahead and cut up our beautimous ahi tuna steak, which I'm super excited to eat. Look at this beauty. This is sashimi, sushi grade tuna. Look at that puppy. It's well over a pound. This recipe only requires a pound, but it was so... Sorry, my animals are fighting behind me. This is not easy to shoot. Anyway, let me let the cat out, and then we'll go ahead and cut up this awesome piece of fish. Okay, come on, kitty. Come on, kitty. Kitty, come on. Okay, so anyway, back to cooking. I should probably use a larger knife, but this is my favorite knife. And even though it's little, it's a J.A. Henkel's knife. If you guys aren't familiar, look these guys up. They make amazing, amazing kitchen tools. Their knives are guaranteed. They stay sharp, and if you need to sharpen them, they sharpen. Just great. 5-star reviews everywhere you look at them. So anyway, that's why I'm using this knife, because I only have the small one. I have larger knives, but they're just not as cool. So anyway, we're going to do this in about 1-inch sections, and I'm going to go with the grain instead of against it. So depending on what kind of meat you're cutting will depend on how you want to do this. But for 1-inch sections here, and because this is such fresh fish, it's just going to cut like butter. So I'm just going to do that. And probably about the size of a slice. Now, this is about the only recipe that I actually cut into a piece of meat before I cook it. And that's really a Japanese traditional thing to do. And for this bowl especially, it's important. But normally if I was going to do this, I would definitely either blacken it or just barely sear it on both sides, kind of let everything cook on its own off any kind of heat for like 5 minutes, and then just dive into it. So anyway, let's get the rest of this done. A little bit. Okay. There we go. When we start getting into this white tendonish part, try to pull that out. It's a little chewier and not as yummy to eat, in my opinion. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add these to our marinade. Okay, I'm just going to toss them around. Oopsie, good thing I cleaned the counter before I started this. I don't know, I'm a hands-on person, literally. Oh, sorry, they're jumping out. Meaning, I don't know, people use kitchen tools and gloves, and I just like to feel what I'm doing and know that I got everything, just feels the right way, it looks the right way, I can touch it, see it. I'm more of a hands-on kind of person. So anyway, that's what it's going to look like in the bowl. And then we're going to go ahead and stick this in the fridge, and this needs to marinate, probably marinate marinate for about 25 to 30 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and put this in here. I'm running out of room. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and start the jalapeno sauce that's going to go with this. So you want 1 to 2 fairly ripe avocados. And let me go ahead and rinse my knife. My fave go-to knife. So we're just going to cut this down. Everyone opens their avocado a different way. This is always the way I've done it. It works the best for me. So I just slice it in quarters, and it's either going to peel off really easily depending on how ripe it is. And this one's fairly ripe because it's coming off pretty nicely, so that you just get the most fruit that you can. Okay. And you can even use a hand mixer or a small food processor. I just happen to have my handy dandy Vitamix that I love. It's like my go-to kitchen tool. So I'm going to go ahead and stick them in there. What I was going to say is if they're not quite ripe enough and they're not coming off, you can always take a knife and just, kind of julienne it out, carve it out. So stick that in there. I would probably use more avocado if I had it. This is my last one left, so I'm going to go ahead and just stick with the one. My family loves avocados, so we always go big. Okay, and don't want to lose any of that. I swear, I think I eat as much when I'm cooking as much as when I sit down to eat. So we're going to go ahead and slice open our fresh from the garden, the first one of the year that I've plucked, jalapeno. And because my kids are going to be eating this with us, I'm going to go ahead and de-seed it, just to make sure that it's not too hot for the kiddos. So I'm going to rinse it, make sure the seeds are out. Still going to have an amazing flavor, but not, just kind of, you don't want the whole flavor to be taken over by just the avocado. So we'll go ahead and slice that up a little bit. Toss that in there. And then, like I said, I'm out of fresh limes, so we're going to just use the alternative, unfortunately. And this is coming out really slow. Let me see if I can get this off. Trying to pop that off, it's not working. Anyway, you want probably about half of a lime, or I don't know, 3. Just be like, well, looks like that's all we're getting. I was gonna say, probably at least a tablespoon, if not a little bit more. But if you just take half a lime, you don't have to measure it, just toss it in there. So we're gonna go ahead and put all of that in our blender or food processor. And really just want it on like a low speed because we want a creamy texture. So let's go ahead and do this and turn the power on. I'm going to put it on the lowest. A little higher. That was quick. Okay. Let me go ahead and get this out of the blender. I'm going to check on the noodles and I'll be right back. Okay, so I ended up having to move my sauce from my favorite blender into our smaller food processor because I was low on lime juice and avocado, so it made it kind of difficult. There wasn't really enough in there to do anything, so I moved it here. It came out perfect. It only took another 30 seconds. My udon has chilled, and so what I'm going to do is let's see, where's my spatula? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add my sauce to the noodles. sure I'm not forgetting anything here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add that sauce in. Just give it a little toss so that it can kind of marinate for a minute. So you're gonna kind of get almost like a fettuccine looking noodle. Very yummy. And then I went ahead and diced, well, first peeled and then diced my cucumber. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and put this bowl back in the refrigerator. And then we're going to do our final step. So we'll be right back. Yum. Udon noodles and sauce pulled out of the fridge. I've got my cast iron skillet on high heat, and I'm just taking my tuna that's marinating. I'm going to just barely stick it in here enough to just kind of sear it, and then we're gonna pull it off and finish up our bowls. So here we go. As I was heating up the pan, I used grapeseed oil because it's got a really good high smoke point. Most dishes use sesame oil, but I ran out. Some people use butter, but this is just a healthier option. So I'll let that sit for a minute. As I was heating up the grapeseed oil, I added a little bit of black sesame seeds. You don't have to, it's just optional. And then I added black peppercorn, and I have it like at a medium grind. So while that's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and put the noodles in the bowl. Even here. And these just need tossed once and they'll be about done. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the heat. Take them off the heat. Just about done with dinner. Okay. All right. And we're just going to go ahead and put a few on each of these noodle bowls, and dinner is served. Okay, and then I just like to sprinkle the rest of the sliced green onion that I saved on top, just to make it pretty and give it that good yummy flavor. And there you have it. So I hope you enjoy your poke noodle bowl, and I hope you all have a great night. Thanks so much.